What's up, everybody? Aaron Nagler here, Cheesehead TV, coming to you live late Friday afternoon. Victory Friday after the Packers escaped Chicago with a 10-3 victory. Matt LaFleur gaining his first head coaching pellet on his wall. Bearskin this time, 1-0. The Packers start the season. Obviously, a somewhat disappointing offensive performance, but a defensive performance for the ages. As Aaron Rodgers so eloquently put it last night, we've got a defense. What's up, everybody in the chat? How you doing? Do you think B.J. Raji would help this defense even more? Matub is here and announcing his presence with authority. Vince, J.K. Scott with 3 exclamation points. That's what I'm talking about. The offense was an eyesore for sure. Well, as Matt LaFleur just said at his press availability, too many selections from the get back on track menu. They were behind the sticks a lot, and that's no way to live. Why didn't Kiki play? He was inactive, so that would be why he didn't play. Love you on Green and Gold last night. Thank you very much. I hope everyone got the chance to check out the Green and Gold post-game show powered by Cheesehead TV at 97.3 The Game. The replay is still up at cheeseheadtv.com. Make sure you check it out. Any injuries reported? No, nothing of note out of last night, which obviously that's another huge win. We have a defense. I love all the "we have a defense" comments. It's so sweet. Did Gary play? Yes, he played 6 snaps, most of them towards the end. I think they wanted his fresh legs out there. But as I mentioned on Twitter, as we've been talking about all offseason, they paid the Smiths a lot of money to go play a lot of minutes, and they did that last night. Gary is learning a new position in a new offense. He will be brought along slowly. Last night should not be a surprise to anybody. How about Tremont, though? Jaden, what a performance from the 800-year-old Tremont Williams. I mean, I think one of the headiest plays of the night on that deep right sideline shot to Allen Robinson, where Robinson gets 1 foot in, but Tremont hits him just as the ball gets there and pushes him out of bounds, so he's unable to get the 2nd foot in. That's a heads-up play from a veteran. But all around, I thought Tremont had a really, really good night. And I thought the pass interference / defensive holding call on that out route on 3rd down early in the game was ridiculously ticky-tack, but you live and you learn. Tony Brown balled out. Thoughts? Yeah, Jacob, I thought he held up really well. Obviously, he got taken advantage of a couple times by Robinson. That's going to happen. I thought he had really nice coverage on the first one up the left sideline. They threw the back shoulder to Robinson. That's really tough to defend. But for the most part, yeah, he was there. He was physical in the run game, which you always like to see from your corners on the perimeter. Thought he did a good job of funneling things back inside towards the linebackers and safeties. So, yeah, I thought he played a really nice game. I enjoyed seeing the tight ends being utilized. Absolutely. I think Mercedes Lewis was more involved last night than he was all last year. Is the defense that good or the Bears' offense that bad? The defense is that good. Now, Trubisky is an issue. There's no doubt about it. And they're not going to shut down every single offense that they face, but the defense is very good. Make no two bones about it. Let's see. Did the special teams units look better than last year? I thought so on balance, Chad. I thought coverage was really good on the one kick where J.K. Scott put it right in the middle of the field, and you're always kind of nervous when that happens, but coverage was good. The rush lanes were really disciplined, and they kept, the returners, some pretty dynamic returners for Chicago, kind of penned in all night. That last punt from J.K. Scott was amazing. The 63-yarder really helped them win that game, and that's the kind of thing you want from a punter that you spent a draft pick on. David Savage is fast. I tell you what, it has been a long time since we've seen a deep middle-of-the-field safety go sideline to sideline like he did last night. Thank you for the super chat, Luke. I know that he's a good blocker, but are you surprised by the heavy usage of Mercedes Lewis? Glad the Bears didn't utilize Montgomery more. Oh, Luke, I'm with you on that last part. I think they're really shooting themselves in the foot, trying to go with their 3-headed monster, so to speak, in the backfield. But hey, you do you, Matt Nagy. As far as Mercedes, anybody who watched Packers Daily throughout training camp, heard me talk about Tanyan being utilized a lot. And I did wonder, and I said as much, if they were trying to see what they had in Tanyan, knowing what they have in Lewis. I mean, Lewis is clearly at the end of his career, but There's a lot of familiarity there, especially with Nathaniel Hackett knowing what he can do. So I wasn't very surprised. I did think Tanya would play a little bit more, but Tanya did have the big catch when Rodgers escaped the pocket to his right, big first down conversion. So yeah, a little surprised that play time was a little more balanced, but I was glad to see Mercedes get involved. Do you expect Jenkins to take Taylor's spot? That's a really good question, Alex. I think if Lane doesn't improve next week, there's a good chance he might get subbed out not only the following week, but maybe even during the game. There were a number of times when Lane had just, either got shoved aside by some really big, physical, talented defensive linemen, or just seemed to kind of lose his balance. Obviously, that manhandling early on for the sack was really unfortunate, but I thought he did improve as the game went on, but a couple of missed assignments. He's got to play better. There's no doubt about it. Dylan, thanks for the super chat. How does last week make you feel about week 2? Or last night make you feel about week 2? I don't really feel anything yet. I got to watch the Vikings play on Sunday. Then I'll probably have a better feel for it. I'm excited for the defense. And I'm pretty sure that Aaron Rodgers and the offense will only improve from what we saw last night. That's probably one of, if not the toughest defense they'll play all year. You have to think the arrow will be pointing up from here on out. Does Trevor Davis leave me with a good feeling? I mean, yes. Other than when he's false starting when they go spread formation. But for the most part, yeah. Jimmy looked faster? I don't know about that. I thought he looked good. Oh, holy cow, so many questions. Who was my underrated MVP? That's a good question. Probably Raven Green. Ben Fennell put up some nice words about him earlier on Twitter. I'm sure he'll have a tape breakdown of him at The Athletic this week. But he was, interestingly, really involved as that kind of enforcer safety role that Whitehead had last year before he was dismissed. And then Ibrahim Campbell had taken over. It's so funny because there was so much consternation and so much hand-wringing about inside linebacker, and they only used Martinez last night. Summers didn't even play from scrimmage. Raven Green was the guy on the inside doing a lot of the dirty work. And he was all over the place. He was even rushing off the edge. He was coming up the A-gap, like coverage, sideline to sideline, upping in the run game. I mean, he was all over the map. He was fantastic, I thought. Brian Blog is underrated. Well, you saw TJ Lang give him a shout out on Twitter this morning. He had played a very nice game. He had the one holding call, and he had one or two kind of snaps where I thought he was maybe a little kind of overwhelmed by Khalil Mack, but the ball got out of Aaron's hands and it didn't matter. But for the most part, Mack was pretty quiet. Didn't have too much success against Bulaga, and that's all you can ask for. Do you think we could become even more disruptive when we get, what does it say? When we get Kiki and Gary into the mix? Yeah, I think that's the fun part. There's still a long way to go and a lot of development to come on the defensive side of the ball. And not just by getting new bodies like the ones you're talking about involved, but improvement from the guys that we saw last night. I mean, that was Savage's first game as a pro. He played every snap, and he was everywhere. And he's only going to get better. That's crazy. J.K. Scott is the ultimate Weapon X. Man, well. Very impressed with the defense. Bears fans booing should be my ringtone. Hit those like buttons, everyone. That's what I'm talking about. Where was your faith in the pack? You and Grossi both picked us to lose. Come on, guys, you got to believe. Jay, it's not about belief. Don't be a child. J.K. Scott is a leader of men. Oh, that was so funny, the boos. The boos were funny, and the big Bronx cheer for the made field goal was hilarious. I love it. Corey's still drunk. No, Corey's hard at work. Do you think Rodgers' past MVS could have been put out a little more in front of him for a TD? I mean, sure, if he was the bionic man. It's still an amazing throw, and he holds the entire defense over to the left side and then throws it up the middle. That's an insane throw. It's clear that Rodgers' arm strength isn't what it was when he was, 28, but he's 35 years old, and he can still sling it like that. And the other thing that I didn't notice last night, but I noticed tonight when looking at the replay of that play, if he throws it too far over to the right and out in front, there's a chance because he's got to arc it, right? there's a good chance that safety running back can get under it and make a play on it. So I think he does what he can do there. And I love that he's looking to his left and drawing everyone's attention over there and then kind of torques his body and chucks it down the middle of the field. Tyson, thank you for the super chat. Should we be worried about how Aaron Rodgers played last night? No, not at all. I mean, it's frustrating. And the quintessential moments that drive me insane are the continual taking down of the play clock to 1 second. Now, Aaron did take responsibility for that last night, but we heard him say that last year too. I just hope that this isn't the constant thing now with him for the rest of his career, because it is maddening. How many weeks until offense is firing on all cylinders? Maybe 4 or 5, I would think. I mean, they could even score a ton of points next week. That doesn't mean they've arrived. I remember talking to Jeff Schwartz, the former Giant who does work for SB Nation now, does a lot of media stuff. He was saying, traditionally, places he's been and places he's witnessed with other guys that he knows around the league, you install a new offense, you're really not comfortable / completely on board, firing on all cylinders, to put it in your parlance, until like week 8. So does having a veteran like Rodgers maybe help speed that process along? Yeah, probably. But it's a whole new language. It's a whole new world. You saw Rodgers on some of those RPOs last night. I mean, firing to nobody, literally to no one on one of them. Without a preseason, I guess, yeah, that's probably to be expected, but you can't live like that for a whole season. So we'll see. Jair is so good. Yeah, you got that right. Allison, Juan, he played, but, just didn't get targeted a whole lot. And, you can't say that that's completely surprising. That's just the ebbs and flows of the game, There could be a week where they double everything outside and Allison works the slot in the middle of the field and gets a ton of production. And it's going to be dependent on matchups, I think. Do you like LaFleur's demeanor? What's funny? I hadn't really even thought of it. His demeanor's fine with me. He's who he is. As long as he can coach, I don't really care about his demeanor. The first 4 games are preseason for Rodgers. Well, Gary, I wouldn't say the first 4. I think the first quarter and a half was preseason. They struggled down the second half, obviously, to really put points on the board, but that's one of the best defenses in the league. Yeah, they get paid too. Preston Smith had himself a game after a quiet camp. Thank you for the super chat, Justin. I said this during Packers Daily at some point during training camp. Just because you're not reading headlines about guys or tweets about guys from camp doesn't mean they're not playing well or doing well in regards to day in and day out, practicing, doing what's asked of them, making plays, etc. I mean, there's 90 dudes you're watching, and these guys, Za'Darius got all the headlines because he was in the backfield constantly, etc. But Preston, last night is what you saw all throughout camp. Maybe it didn't get broadcast as much because it's not as flashy, but, he worked within the constructs of that defense, and it was awesome. LaFleur has the Barstool app. He does indeed. Are they calling Smith Brothers like Mario Brothers? Yeah, I guess so. That's what everyone's calling them. And they took their questions after the game together last night, so it's kind of fun. How does Minnesota's defense compare to Chicago's? Not quite as multiple, not quite as talented, but still very talented. It's going to be a tough challenge. It's great that they get them at home, especially early in the season. WJax99, thank you for the super chat. Who do I think gets an extension first, Clark or Blake? It's definitely got to be Clark. I think Blake will most likely maybe not hit the market, but it'll be a while before they even approach him. I think they'll let him play maybe the entire season before talking contract. With Clark, the sooner the better, because he's only going to get more and more expensive as the year goes on. Adam, thank you for the super chat. Pettenwood, good on your side in a bar fight. Love seeing him on the sideline. I loved the bit at the end with the guys pushing and shoving him and celebrating, and then that big smile that he had. But yeah, it was great to see that energy. Is Martinez underrated? I guess it's my standard answer. Depends on who's doing the rating. I know Packer fans who thinks he's like the next Luke Kuechly. I don't think he's that, but I also know Packer fans that want to cut him and think he's a bum, and I think that's ridiculous. So it's all in the eye of the beholder. I think he's a really good football player, and I love that he's on our team. Savage was impressive last night. Yes, he was. Amos seems like one of the smartest players on the team. Well, he is smart, and he is a very solid football player. Helps that he went against these guys every day in practice for 4 years. The Bears last night, obviously, but he is one hell of a player. There's a reason Gutekunst targeted him and wanted to get him on the team. It's just incredible how, forget next level safety play, just competent safety play just changes everything. But then you add in a dynamic talent like Savage and just Amos' physicality and down in the box, making plays. Just night and day from what we've unfortunately gotten used to in Green Bay at safety. Clinton Dix, once again, non-existent. So long, haha. Hard not to relish some of that, right? It's funny how all the Chicago people who were all up in our grill all summer are suddenly quiet today. All those haha Clinton Dix is better than Amos tweets seem to have magically disappeared from the internet. Funny how that works. Looks like Rodgers and the coaches are getting along just fine. Yeah. Who will be the hashtag fire this year? Mike Zimmer, so that Mike McCarthy can take over the Vikings and when the drama can really start. Did haha make any plays other than... No, he's just that one. Does Davis/Big Bob Tanium get more reps next week? That's a good question. I'll have to call Matt LaFleur and get the game plan. My hunch is no. Why can't Packers see that this offense is better when the play clock isn't run down constantly? Yeah, well, you got to talk to 12 about that because that is entirely on Rodgers. Do you think there are certain positions Gutekunst evaluates better/worse than others in general managers as compared to TT? Way too early in his tenure to know. I think that will be revealed over time as we get more information, not only in the draft but through his acquisitions and free agency. But right now, I just think it's too early. Does the lack of a run game worry you? No, not at all. If you read my preview matchup piece that I put up at Cheesehead TV on Friday, I expected that. I expected the front for the Bears to be able to completely neutralize the run game. They had a couple nice runs. They had a couple outside zones. Jones had that one nice cutback. But for the most part, yeah, it was exactly what I expected. And they were able to do it without much help in the box. They didn't have to commit extra bodies. So there were a few times when Jackson came down and helped out. But for the most part, they were able to control things up front, the Bears, that is. And there's a reason. Those guys are really fucking good. So, no, it doesn't worry me. I think LaFleur probably has to commit to it a little bit more, maybe stick with it a little bit more. And he admitted as much. But no, doesn't worry me at all. Packers O-line needs better timing. Gary, I actually agree with that. There were a number of instances where it just looked like a fire drill, especially early on. Now, obviously, some of that is a lack of preseason, lack of live reps, but it is definitely something they're going to have to drill and work on because there were a number of times when guys were trying to disengage and get to the second level and they're just allowing somebody into the backfield. We can't have that, obviously. But for the most part, those are the things you got to expect early in the NFL season now because, nobody plays in the preseason anymore. The defensive holding call on Clark, the first drive was terrible. I agree, as was Tony Correnti. But don't get me bitching about the officials, because then this will turn into an official bitching video, and I don't want that. New injuries, nothing to report, Stefan. They were pretty injury-free last night. Was Williams in the game more because of the pass blocking against such a stout D? No, Tyler, I think they were just rotating guys. Sorry to tell you, but I do think, Aaron Jones did kind of aggravate something there for a little bit, but then we saw him come back. I just think it was rotational more than anything else. B.J. Raji would be a good left guard. That's my cue to go. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'm sorry if I couldn't get to your question. It's amazing. There's 450 people here on a Friday. Go enjoy your weekends. Victory Friday, baby. Go get lit tonight. I know I'm going to. Thank you so much. Thank you for checking out Extra Cheese and everything we do at Cheesehead TV. Nagler's Never Right, my latest podcast just went up for any Cheesehead TV patrons out there over on our Patreon page. If you're not, please consider giving us $5 a month to support everything we do at Cheesehead TV. Patreon.com/Cheesehead TV is where you can find Nagler's Never Right. If you missed the post-game show last night, that's up at cheeseheadtv.com. And all of our stuff, all the stuff breaking down what was a thrilling 10-3 victory, Matt LaFleur's first win as head coach in Green Bay. Gotta love it. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great weekend. Talk to you guys soon.